right. Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, ready to explore some pretty mind-bending ideas.
I'm excited. Always up for a good mind bending.
We're taking excerpts from a book called How Things Become Things. Sounds pretty abstract, right?
You could say that.
But the core idea is surprisingly concrete. It's all about exploring the connection between electromagnetism and consciousness. Yeah, you heard that right.
Definitely not your typical everyday topic. I think this one's going to challenge some assumptions.
We already challenged some of mine, that's for sure. But that's why we're here, right? To push those boundaries a bit.
Absolutely.
So before we get too far, let's set the stage. When most people hear electromagnetism, they probably think magnets, electricity, maybe even light.
The basics, yeah.
But this source goes way deeper, saying that electromagnetism is essential for all life. And that's not even the most intriguing part. It suggests that electromagnetic frequencies, these things called biophotons, might actually be involved in how our cells communicate, and even how our DNA gets repaired.
Okay, whoa, hold on. Cells talking to each other using light, that's a whole new level of communication.
Right. It makes you wonder, what else are we missing? What other roles does electromagnetism play that we haven't even considered yet?
That's a great question, and it leads us to the even bigger question this source tackles. What is consciousness? Is it just a product of our brains, or is there something more to it?
Something more fundamental, maybe.
That's exactly what the source suggests. It proposes that consciousness isn't a byproduct, but a primary force in the universe. Almost like there's this universal consciousness or informational field that exists beyond our physical world.
So instead of our brains creating consciousness, they're actually receiving it from this field. Kind of like a radio tuning into a specific frequency.
Perfect analogy. And here's where the electromagnetism piece comes full circle. The source argues that it's electromagnetism that acts as the bridge between this informational field and our physical world. It's how information from that field gets translated into something tangible, something our brains can perceive and interact with.
That makes sense. But are we talking about a theoretical connection here, or are there actual examples of this happening?
Oh, there are definitely examples. The source talks about how electrical fields guide embryonic development, influencing how cells differentiate and form complex structures, all before genes even kick in. It's like there's this blueprint of information that's guiding the process through these electrical fields.
So it's not just genes dictating everything.
Exactly. There's a whole other level of orchestration happening, and electromagnetism seems to be a key player.
Wow, that's wild. And what about our brains? We know that our thoughts, our perceptions, they're all based on electrical signals, right?
Absolutely. And the source highlights this, suggesting that this intricate dance of electrical signals in our brains isn't just random. It could be resonating with that informational field, constantly receiving and transmitting information. Think about it. Our brains are essentially electromagnetic organs.
Electromagnetic organs. It makes me wonder if that's why things like meditation or certain frequencies of sound can have such a profound impact on us.
It's possible. It definitely opens up a whole new way of thinking about those practices.
There's also this concept the source mentions called Schumann resonances. I have to admit I'm not really familiar with them. Can you give a quick explanation?
Sure. Think of Schumann resonances as the Earth's electromagnetic heartbeat. Essentially, they're a set of frequencies that are generated by lightning discharges. These frequencies then resonate within the cavity between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere.
Okay, so there's this constant electromagnetic hum happening around us all the time.
You got it. And the source suggests that these Schumann resonances might actually be influencing our biological processes on a global scale, things like our sleep cycles and even our overall well-being.
It's kind of amazing, isn't it? This invisible world of electromagnetism constantly shaping and influencing life as we know it.
It really is. It challenges us to think beyond just the physical, to consider how energy and information are playing a role in everything from our individual cells to the entire planet.
Okay, so let's step back and try to summarize this. We started with electromagnetism, then dove into the idea of a universal consciousness, and now we see how electromagnetism might be the bridge between those two. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's also incredibly exciting. It paints this picture of us as not just biological machines, but also electromagnetic beings, constantly interacting with this deeper level of consciousness that permeates the universe.
So what are some of the implications of this? If our bodies and minds are constantly being shaped by these electromagnetic fields, what does that mean for our understanding of health, consciousness, even reality itself?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, don't they? It opens up so many new avenues for exploration. For example, if our cells are communicating using light, could we use light-based therapies to influence health and healing? If our brains are resonating with a universal consciousness, what does that tell us about the nature of our thoughts and experiences?
Yeah, it really makes you wonder if things like intuition, creativity, even spiritual experiences could have an electromagnetic component.
It's certainly a possibility, and the more we learn about these connections, the more we might be able to tap into the potential of these fields for things like personal growth, collective consciousness, and maybe even understanding the mysteries of the universe.
I don't know about you, but my mind is definitely buzzing after this deep dive. It's clear that there's so much more to explore beyond our conventional understanding of the world.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The more we learn, the more we realize how much more there is to discover. And with that in mind, I think a great question for our listeners to ponder is this. If we are electromagnetic beings, constantly interacting with a field of information, could we consciously influence these fields? And if so, what implications might that have for our lives and our future?
It's a question that definitely leaves me wanting to learn more, and I hope it sparks that same curiosity in our listeners. Until next time, keep those minds open and those questions coming.
And remember, the exploration never ends.
Thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.